As the live stream button comes on and you click got it,
We shall begin. So,
yes, we shall begin.
Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, good evening, good night to everyone, depending on the time zone in which you live, because we know there are always people in this meeting from all over the world. I am Shakira Mohammed of Trinidad and Tobago. I've been a teacher for the past 14 years, and this is the 131st edition of our Zoom public meeting. And we wish to sincerely thank all those who have contributed in whatever way to the success of this ongoing Pan-Indo-Caribbean and Pan-Indian Diaspora global project. For 130 unbroken continuous weeks, we have been here every single Sunday. So in the past 2 years, 8 months, and 1 week, we have featured over 440 presenters from all parts of the world, speaking on 130 topics. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a weekly forum being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, a legally registered research and publishing company operating since 2010. And like today, we often partner with the Amina Ghafoor Institute for the study of indentureship and its legacies, led by Professor David Davidine. In order to continue this weekly program and to make it bigger and better, we are asking that you give us your suggestions as well as donations, and you can contact Dr. Kumar Mahabir for further details. So ladies and gentlemen, our moderator this evening or tonight is Shalima Mohammed, the co-director of this Zoom platform, who is a business teacher and researcher from Trinidad and Tobago. She obtained her master's degree in business psychology from Franklin University in the USA, and she's a strong advocate for health and wellness practices based on traditional and alternative healing. So Shalima, welcome. Please take over from here.
Thank you, Shakira. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Namaste, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for choosing to spend this part of your Sunday or Monday morning with us. This public meeting will differ from the usual panel presentation format. 3 of us from the ICC team will take turns to converse with our honored elders. There will be no Q&A, but you are free to send us your burning questions in the chat, and if we can accommodate, we'll be happy to do so. To avoid trolls invading our program, our IT manager, Ravin Ram Singh, has muted everyone. Speakers are advised not to admit anyone, not to unmute anyone, and please do not allow anyone to share your screens. Ladies and gentlemen, our meeting today should not exceed 2 hours. And we are having live conversations with Indian elders in the diaspora about long time days, and this is our 3rd edition. We've been inviting older folks supported by their children and grandchildren to share their personal stories about life experiences in the 1940s, about 20 years after Indian indentureship officially ended in 1920. And the reason why we are doing this is because historically, the actual voices of living elders are often unrecognized, underrepresented, unheard, and undocumented in many research collections in the Caribbean and in the wider Indian diaspora. Most of our remote and so much of our recent past are not documented and therefore lie outside the purview of mainline history. We have to bequeath to future generations more memories of our recent past. We must remember and reconstruct as much of our past as we can to present to the future. So this is our way of doing that. And before we hear from our honored elders today, we want to pause to celebrate the birthday of a very sassy young lady who was featured on our program last month. That is our distinguished elder, Aji Ramraji Ramsawak. Rabin, can you just show her photo, please? She celebrated her birthday last Tuesday. She's now 103 years old. So I want to say happy birthday, Aji. May you live longer and stronger. So please, you all just join us in serenading her with this remake of the 1967 song from the movie Fars. The original lyrics is by Anand Bakshi, and here it is performed by Ravi B from Trinidad and Tobago. Robin, can we have that?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday happy birthday, happy birthday to you. बाद दिन ये आए, it's your birthday so let me party. बाद दिन ये आए, it's your birthday so let me party. Let's gather to cut the cake, cheers to your life, let's celebrate. Happy birthday to you, another great year for you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
So there we have Ravi B's version of Bar Bar Din Ye Aaye, which means may this day come again and again. So thank you so much, Ravin. We're really happy to have interviewed Aji live on our program last month, and we wish her all the very, very best in this new year of her life. So let's start with today's program. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel of distinguished elders have been waiting for a little while. And I just want to remind all the members of our live audience, you can participate by posting your burning questions in the chat box at the base of the screen. There unfortunately will not be a Q&A today, just to keep within time. So our first elder today is Kasturi Chetty, who is 80 years old, and she's from South Africa. She studied nursing in Scotland and worked in a private hospital in Durban. She's a yoga teacher, and she's currently researching the indenture history of her grandmother. She has a site called thestoryofrajwantia.com. So welcome, Mom. I'll be chatting with you for just about 20 minutes. Can you unmute, please? I'm seeing you, but I'm not hearing you. Mrs. Reddy, can you unmute your mic?
Unmute your mic, Miss Kasturi.
Okay, so while we're waiting, Sudeshan, are you having any issues there?
Yeah, it's on. Okay. It's on.
Okay, terrific.
Okay.
So.
Okay, it's on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, terrific.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I'm hearing you now, yes.
Okay.
So welcome. Nice of you to join us on the program.
Thank you.
And your son has given us some very interesting information about you. We understand that you've been in the care profession for a long time, and you're retired now.
Yes.
Are you spending most of your time doing your research into your mom?
Into? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Okay, so what do you spend most of your time doing?
Oh, part of it is the research that I'm doing with my cousin who lives in Edinburgh and my niece who lives in Cape Town. And we're researching my grandmother, who was an indenture worker, who came from India in 1899, and she worked in the railways. We've managed to get some research done, and we've done a couple of blogs, but we have hit some stops here and there because it's difficult to get information, with lockdown and with COVID, we weren't able to get to the archives as easily as we hoped we would. So I'm hoping that maybe there's people out there who might have even been, on that trip with my grandmother in 1899 on the ship from Lars from Calcutta. Maybe we'll be able to get me busy, plus the other things that I do with my life, with my time, which is I have done the yoga course, although it's not a registered yoga course. I did it through the Indian consulate, and we had a lovely teacher there and did quite a lot. And even now, I go to a yoga class. I did do a little bit of teaching in this building where I live. I live in a block of flats, and we did start some classes, but sadly we don't have a venue. So we were doing it outside, and then, with weather and so on, did make it a bit difficult. But I do go to a yoga class twice a week, a very nice one. It's quite spiritual also. And then also I have a walking group. We walk on the beach, and interestingly, we always walk on the promenade just away from where my grandmother would have landed in Durban. And 2 weeks ago, there was a ceremony on the 16th, because the indenture started in 1860 with the Truro, and every year there's an annual celebration, prayer, and a meeting of people, just to honor them. And it was a beautiful ceremony that we had people of different faiths doing the prayer on the beach, did some camphor, and sang a few songs. And then they gave us some marigolds, which we scattered in the ocean. It was very moving, very touching. And I must say, my grandmother came with a child from India. She was a widow, and she must have had such a difficult life, like, so many who came. And here are we now, here am I 3 generations later, so privileged that I can do this.
So did you know her?
But
did you know your grandmother?
Well, I didn't know her, but she delivered me when I was born. She died when I was a year old. We lived in our family house. My grandmother came as indenture, but 5 years later, she met and married my grandfather, who was a passenger Indian and actually an entrepreneur who became very wealthy. So her life changed from being an indenture and the hardships that went along with that to a total metamorphosis. And she was from North India. And in the ship's list, she's listed as Muslim. So we think she might have married a Muslim. She came with the child whose name was Hanif, which is a Muslim name. So it's all a bit confusing. And she came from North India. And of course, she didn't speak Tamil or anything. But when she met my grandfather, her life changed completely. They changed her name. She was Rajwantia. And then she became Janaki. And from and the way she dressed was changed. The language she spoke was changed. But because she married a wealthy man, they became, in fact, we've called our blog From Indenture to Matriarch. And she became the matriarch of our family, from being a poor widow to one of the most respected people in the country at the time, having married my grandfather. And they had 7 children, 5 boys, and my father was the eldest of that. My father and his 2 brothers worked in the business. My grandfather was a businessman, and he and the other 2 brothers became doctors. So, we had a relatively privileged upbringing. I had, but you know, having been born into apartheid, that put a different angle on everything. So, yeah, so that's where things changed after that.
So we have a question from Mr. Jay Nair in the chat, and I know that Sudeshan wanted to link up with him. So I'm just saying this out loud, Mr. Nair, please send your email address to Mrs. Kasturi Chetty. You can do so privately using the chat. And he is asking if you are related to J.B. Chetty and family.
Yes. I'm J.B. Chetty's daughter.
Ah, there you go. So yes, so you all will be able to connect. Now, there is a group called the GurmitiaFoundation.org. And there is a South African branch of that group, GurmitiaFoundation.org. So they can assist you on site in India with doing your research. Okay? I'm wondering if the connection is still there because she seems a little bit frozen. So we would want to help you to advance your research so that you can find out the full story. And so you can always refer to GurmitiaFoundation.org. There is indeed a branch in South Africa. And we can always link up and share that information with you. So Mrs. Chetty, are you hearing me? Okay, we seem to have lost connection. So at this point in time, I think we should say thank you very much for the information that you've shared, and we should move on. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Mrs. Chetty from South Africa for that. And let me just check one more time. No, she's muted. Okay, so at this point in time, I want to bring on our second elder, and this is Sister Zarina Yusuf Muhammad, who is 93 years old. She attended the St. Joseph's Convent in Trinidad. She worked as a librarian, and many people would remember her from the Carnegie Library in San Fernando. She's a founding member of the San Fernando Muslim Women's Association, in which she held the presidency for 23 years. So, Assalamu alaikum, Auntie Zarina. You want to unmute your mic? Okay, your mic is unmuted. I can hear you now.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, did you hear me? I said, wa alaikum assalam.
Now we're here.
Yes,
Yeah.
all right.
So you have a very interesting story, and I just shared a little bit with the audience. One of the things that I was curious about, having read your bio, was that you would have been aligned to St. Joseph's, which is a convent, since kindergarten. So your education would really have been influenced by Catholics, which is quite unusual because generally in Trinidad and Tobago, most of the Indians would have been influenced by the Presbyterians. So can you just share with us, please, how that alignment with the Catholics took place?
Okay, but can I just say that school days, I love my school days. And I consider my school days the first part of the first season of the 4 seasons of my life. I'm on my last season. St. Joseph's Convent. My father was a very charismatic person. And then somehow or the other, he wanted his firstborn daughter to be schooled at St. Joseph's Convent. Now, one day he took me, I crushed his hand and he took me to the convent to meet the principal. And as we got in, he left me outside and he went into her office and then came back out and said, "You're coming to this school." What happened? My father must have charmed himself to that principal, that nun, because at that time, it was unheard of any non-Christian going to the convent. And by then also, Muslims were considered pagan. Anyway, the type of bringing that was instilled into me at the convent was what my father desired. He admired and respected those ladies in white and expected that sound moral principles, good manners, would be infused into me. An interesting thing for listeners to know is that at that time, it was about 1935, the convent was situated at the La Peak Hill, opposite Naparima Girls High School, on the spot that Presentation College now sits. About 2 years later, the convent was moved to its own massive concrete structure on Harris Promenade. And one thing, let me add, on the 100th anniversary of Indian arrival, Indian convent girls were asked to march down to Skinner Park for the celebrations. Anything else?
Yeah. So it's interesting that Presentation College, which is Presbyterian, would have taken that spot. So the property then, we have to figure out, how the property would have been utilized first by the convent, when in fact it was actually possibly the property of the Presbyterians.
Yes, but one side is Naparima College, which would be Presbyterian, and the opposite side will be Catholic. One side of Naparima Hill.
Yeah, so terrific. So can you share with us what life was like being a Muslim girl, the only non-Catholic being educated in this convent?
Oh, my school life was really fabulous. Huh? But what happened I am a very reserved person, quiet, and did what I was supposed to do. So I obeyed all the laws. I did my homework, and I had a group of lovely friends. We were compatible. I forget. What did you ask me?
I just wondered what it was like being a Muslim in a Catholic.
Oh, all right. Well, I was well treated. I was well treated. I was not snubbed or anything. But something very peculiar happened. There was a particular nun, Mother Emilia, tall and stately and lovely. And I really was fond of her. She was the cookery teacher. And Mother Emilia and she kind of had a fondness for me too. And we had a good relationship going on. One day, one of my friends burst the bubble. She said, you think Mother Emilia really likes you? She doesn't like you, She's playing up to you because she wants to convert you to Roman Catholicism. And the bubble burst. And I said, well, I wasn't going to give up. I continued my friendship with her. She continued treating me. And well, I did well in my domestic science class.
Oh, good. So her influence worked well for you. That's nice.
Yes, yes.
And so you later went on to become the librarian at Carnegie Free Library.
Yes.
Can you just tell us, now this would have happened in your 20s. You were how old when you started to work there?
Oh, I was 50. It was in 53. Do the math.
53, and you were born in 29.
29.
Right. So enough years. But did you work anywhere prior to working at Carnegie?
Before going to Carnegie, soon after school, I did commercial lessons as it was a passion at that time. My father said I must come and work in his store. He had a hardware store on Mokarapo Street. So I was happy to go. I went to work because I was the cashier. I was also a clerk. So when he wasn't there, I was the boss. Anyway, I enjoyed that. One day, our next door neighbor, who was Roy Joseph, Minister of Education, he shouted out, "Zarina, Zarina, what is Uncle Roy calling me for?" I said, yes. He said, "Would you like to work at the library?" So I said, no, I am very happy in my papa's store. He said, "No, never mind that. I made an appointment for you to go and have an interview with the librarian tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. So I couldn't help but go because he was the Minister of Education. He was my uncle. So I went. I was interviewed. Actually, the interview wasn't bad at all. And I was employed for 3 months temporarily, and I had several temporary appointments. No, not appointments, temporary time. And after a while, I was permanently appointed. And then I stayed there for 21 years. I resigned as senior librarian of Carnegie Free Library. What we must know is that Carnegie Free Library is a statutory body run by the Borough of San Fernando. And the Central Library is another entity for the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So I was with Carnegie Free Library, but we were the same premises and everything was the same. So I left to get married.
Oh, so tell us about that. What year did you get married and how old were you at the time?
1973. Well, that is like a storybook thing. So let me tell you quickly. Okay, I was on a roller scooter during that time when I should have been looking for boyfriends and getting married and so. But I was so taken up with my religion because I was doing several things. And one day at work, I was sitting with the senior librarian, the big one, and my immediate senior, who was my friend too. And Shalima, I was feeling, not feeling well, and we had to work until 7 o'clock. So I was taking a Panadol. And this librarian, the senior librarian, hails out to me, Zarina, a Panadol wouldn't help you. Do you know what she said, girl? She said, Zarina, what you need is a cigarette and a man. And I was mortified. I didn't know what to do. And my friend said, do you know who you're talking to? Do you know your staff? This is Zarina. She's not that kind of person. Anyway, I went home and that night, and as is the custom, reading Quran. I didn't start from a side. I just opened the Quran and said, at random, let me see what I read. And the verse that jumped up at me was, keep yourself chaste, Allah will open a way for you. About a month after that, I got a letter in the library, which was strange. Anyway, the writing was strange. Then I said, but who could be writing? When I opened it was a letter of proposal. I said, but I don't know this person who is proposing to me like this in a letter. I don't know who it is. So I went to my boss, immediate boss, and I said, look at, she questioned me, do you know the person? I don't know the person, do you know that? But the kind of person I am, I didn't take it and throw it in the rubbish bin. I replied and said, I do not know you, you do not know me. How could I get married to somebody that don't know anything about you? So then he wrote back and said, I have been looking at you for the last 2 years. I've been seeing you at conventions. I've been seeing you at meetings. I've been seeing how you carry yourself. I want to get married to you. But I continued, no, that cannot work at all. That cannot work. And then the letter started to flourish. And through the handwriting, which was a beautiful handwriting, the English and everything, the description, everything, I think we fell in love through the letters. And in 3 months, we were married.
So I want to hear when you introduced him to your dad.
Pardon? To my dad?
Yes, I want to hear what that conversation was like. When you said, Dad, you know, I'm getting a marriage proposal, how did you approach that?
My dad, my girl, dear, you would not like to hear that. My dad was not pleased at all, at all, at all. He was not pleased. He said, go tell your mother, go tell your aunt, go tell your guru. But my guru was my Maulana who tutored me. He said, but for my, oh gosh, Shakira. The day of my wedding, it was a very small wedding, very, very small. I got married in the masjid, not in the hall, in the masjid. And My father did not come. But he did everything for the wedding. He bought all the meats and things. He went in, I wanted a particular flower, and he went to Mayaro. He cut the flowers, brought them back, and did everything. And Papi did not turn up at the wedding. And it took him about maybe a year, maybe 2 years to come, but to talk to, or to come to our home in McBean. And that's that. Well, he died knowing Hanif and even staying in our house. And but I don't know. Up to today, I don't know the reason why. Well, one of the reasons my aunt told me was my father thought that I was leaving San Fernando, the city of San Fernando, to go and work in the country in a shop, because he had a grocery store.
So your husband was Hanif Mohammed?
Yes.
Right. And so Hanif Mohammed lived in McBean.
Yes.
You were coming to sugar cane was growing all around you.
Yes, yes.
And you were leaving Mucurapo, which was really the city.
Yes.
Basically. So I think I can see Dad's problem with that. But also, do you think perhaps that maybe he would have preferred to have arranged your marriage rather than have this person come and propose to you without his knowledge?
I don't know, because he did not arrange marriages for any 5 of us. He did not arrange marriages for any of his children. They just fell in love, and that was it.
Okay, but you are his oldest girl, correct?
No, I'm the eldest daughter, the eldest child.
Or the eldest child?
Yes, 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay, so perhaps, well, we would never know, but it's interesting that he eventually would have joined you and your husband and
yes, he did.
Relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was it like moving into this sugarcane dominated area in McBean? We're talking 1950s Trinidad here. You were a professional, you were working at the library, you had city life kind of thing, and here you are in a rural area in the cane industry now, talking mainly to cane farmers and so on, who would come into the shop. Am I correct?
Yes, my dear, it was a well-known shop in the area. My husband was very popular, head of village council and things like that. But to me, it was going to another country. I'm sorry to say this. I could not understand the language. The children would come and ask for something. I didn't know what they were saying. And my husband was getting annoyed because he said, you're putting on, you come from the town and you're putting on. These children, they would come and ask for the strangest of things. And I don't know, a simple example is this young lady came, her mother sent her to buy something. She's telling me, my mother wanted the thing with the holes. My mother wanted, I said, what is that with the holes? And then I said, what? And she started explaining, to put clothes now, we have the baby and to put clothes. A basket? She said, yes, a basket. So, and he was getting annoyed with me. But anyway, my dear, I stayed there. I trained the children. When they come in, what they must say. Muslims will say that, Hindus say that, Christians say that. When you come, say, excuse me, if anybody else is there, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. So you became a teacher.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
You became a teacher to these little Indian children.
But yes. Yeah.
No. So what kind of activities were you engaged in McBean with these people, these rural cane workers?
All right. Well, I used to go to, what kind of activities? Well, we are in the shop all day. They will come, the mothers especially, they will come with their troubles and they will tell me about life at home and what is going on with the husbands and this and that and that. I would listen and kind of try to console them on that. But I did not have, I just lived in McBean, but I didn't have any relationship with anybody in McBean because there was a mosque in Freeport Fireburn. So I used to go to that mosque and that became my Jamaat. And up there, well, I organized the Ahmadiyya Women's Movement, and then the Freeport Eucharist. So my life was, after work, or even during work, I would leave. I used to drive at the time. I would go up there for meetings and so on. And I had a good thing going with the ladies up in that Jamaat.
Yeah. And who was the Imam at the time? That's Ukiru Road Mosque, right?
That was Hussein, an old man, old Scott man. But the one after that, who was there for a long time, was Kalamazad Mohammed.
Mohammed, yes.
Do you know Kalamazad?
Yes, he's my father's cousin.
Oh, yes. Well, now he's not Imam. No, he's not well. Yeah. But he's my very good friend. I might as well say he's my guru now.
Yeah. He's not well, unfortunately. But it's interesting that you should have left Mukarapo Street Mosque. That's the one.
No, not Mukarapo Street. There. Prince Albert Street.
Prince Albert Street,
right. Which is an independent masjid. And I am still there. The president at the moment is Zain Rahman. We don't have an in-house imam at the moment. We have khatibs coming in.
Okay, I see. So I want to congratulate you on having started the Women's Association and having been president for 23 years.
Oh, by the way, we would be 70 years next year. 75 wow. Years our Women's Association would be next year.
Yeah.
So today is the end of the year get together, and I was supposed to do the games, but I handed it over to somebody else.
Yeah, so I remember that. So at this point in time, I want to say, is there anything else that you would like to share? For example, you've been around for a long time. You've been involved in several types of social work. In fact, you are a national awardee for social work. And I just want to ask you, as a very senior Indo-Trinidadian and Indo-Caribbean woman, what would you like to say to Indian youths today?
Well, you know, what I have found is that the Indians, I don't know how to put this, we have not lost anything. My opinion is that notion what Indians have lost, there's something that I don't think so, because when they came to Trinidad, the Indians came as one nation because they came from the subcontinent of India. They didn't come as Muslims and Hindus and Christians. They lived together on the boat of Jahaji Bais. They lived together in the barracks of Jahaji Bais, and they kind of integrated themselves into the Western society, but that was only for a time. I have found in recent times, in a few decades, I'd say maybe 8 decades ago, the Indians have found a place and they are an integral part of the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. Look at, when I say listen to the young people, the schools, the Indians are graduating in the primary schools as well as at tertiary level. They need to be encouraged more. And these extra lessons they have to take, that I don't like. Why extra lessons? But I understand the teachers do not finish the syllabus in time. Look at the number of Indian doctors and attorneys that we have. Indians have found a place in Trinidad, you know. What about the music, the song, the dance, things like that? At one time you were not hearing it, but now, almost every Saturday night, you can hear either a wedding or somebody putting on some show. And so that is in place. I don't think that will die. The only thing, and what about, we have reached the top, Indians have reached the top because we have had a prime minister and a president. The only thing, in my view, Shalima, that we have lost is our language.
Yeah.
And I would like to say it will be nice if the young people coming up, just as you go for Hindi lesson, what you call not Hindi, but the maktab, whether Muslim or Hindu, try and learn the language and keep the flag of the Indian culture going. And I am so pleased. I have never heard of this group before, you know. I've never heard until Sham called me about it, yes, and then I was hesitant. But then when you called me, you're a good saleswoman, you know.
Thank you.
So it was nice being here. And
it was absolutely wonderful having you. We have comments from the audience in the chat. Some people are referring to you and they are saying that you are quite inspiring. They admire your knowledge and your memory. And as I would have said to you already, at 93 years old, for those of you in the audience who are not aware, she and I have been communicating by WhatsApp. She is very, very current. She is into everything. She has a busier social calendar than most of us. She is so engaged. And let me call you Chachi. Chachi, I really appreciated the time that you spent with us and all the information that you shared. So
thank you very
so much. You've enriched the program.
Thank you, man. I want to thank Alim too for setting this up for me.
Yes, Alim, thank you so much for linking us. Uncle Sham, we cannot thank you enough for referring us. And we look forward to having you much more on the program. You can join and I will be sending you the invites every single week.
Goodbye, Sham.
All right, Auntie. Allah Hafiz.
What a Hafiz.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Zarina Yusuf Muhammad, 93 years young. And now we want to move on to our third speaker.
Sharima, just let me interrupt you. Miss Reddy is back. She had internet problems.
Miss Reddy is back.
Yeah.
Right, and she's able to speak again.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, terrific. So, Mrs. Reddy, can you just unmute, please? Unmute your mic, please, if you don't mind. Ladies and gentlemen, what we'll do, we have...
There we go. Okay.
Okay, terrific. So what we'll do, we'll just chat with you for about 5 minutes more, if you don't mind. We have Mama Sukram, who's waiting to talk, and she's a little bit tired. So I want to just have this conversation with you a little longer because it's what time? It's about 10 p.m. right now in South Africa, correct?
Yes, after 10.
Yeah. So I really want to thank you. We so appreciate you having stayed up so late to talk to us.
That's good.
You were sharing with us about the research that you've done into your grandmother. And I think we lost you at the point when we were just getting into your knowledge about your family. And essentially what I want to ask is whether or not you've been able to continue with any of the traditions that your grandmother would have passed on, for example, to your father.
Yes, I was brought up in a very traditional home, although, with apartheid, the way it was in South Africa in my growing up, I grew up, I was born in 1942 and apartheid was legislated in 1948. So when we went to school, it was segregated schools and all that. But we did keep our traditions, definitely. My grandfather made sure of it, my parents did. And although we had a very Western education, tradition was very strong in our family. Religion, culture, everything. And just like the other lady said, language is the one thing that we did not, carry on with. Although we did go to Tamil school, we had an English medium school, but after school we would go to a Tamil school that was actually built by my grandfather. So, yeah, in that respect, culturally, we did keep the tradition. All the prayers, we went to temple regularly. We always lit the lamp at home every day, and yeah, both my parents were, were very religious, as was my grandfather.
Did you have a jandi at home at which you would light the diya?
Oh, yes, yes. Every home, every Hindu home here in South Africa does have that.
And you still have
the
it?
tradition. Yes, yes. I
Okay.
light the lamp every day, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So tell us something about Indian clothes when you were a child. Was that a norm, or did you all wear Western clothes or African clothes?
Well, it was Western clothes most of the time, but for any traditional and cultural days like Diwali and, and of course, when we went to the temple, we made sure we were in traditional clothes, always covered, your hand, your legs and arms covered. And still, as it is even now, we do follow all that. We have quite a strong cultural background here in South Africa.
So you're telling us about lighting the diyas, having the jandiya and so on. But I recall that you said that correct me if I'm wrong, it was your grandfather your grandmother was a Muslim?
Well, we're not too sure of that. She is listed as Muslim on the ship's list, but her name was Sumaru, which may be a Hindi name, because we're not too sure at that time, But although she's listed as Muslim, and my uncle had a Muslim name, so maybe she was married to a Muslim in India, but she was a widow. So we haven't been able to find out any more about that yet.
As yet, yeah. So we're going to help you with that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yes. So what I'm wondering really is, you have some family members, that uncle, did he retain Islam as his religion? And going forward, what was the relationship between your family practicing Hinduism, his family practicing Islam in this apartheid situation?
No, you see, my uncle, who came with my grandmother, was a baby. He was only 2 years old. And when my grandmother married my grandfather, he was adopted, and his name was changed from Hanib to Somasundram. And he was brought up as a Hindu, and he married a Hindu person. So there was no Muslim connection there.
Okay.
Because my grandfather married my grandmother and made her South Indian.
Okay. So when 1948 came, you were practicing, you were Hindu, you were still wearing Indian clothes at Indian events and all this sort of thing. Did that ever work against you, or was it embraced? What was that like?
Well, during apartheid, our culture and religion was very much sidelined by the government at the time. So the Indians were not really taken into consideration when it came to our culture. There were no holidays for our special holidays or anything like that. Now, of course, there's much more recognition of it. But at that time, no, we were absolutely sidelined regarding all that. There was no history. Our history was not taught at the schools. We had no idea about all this, about indenture and all that. We knew from our parents vaguely, but no, nothing was taught It was completely ignored.
I see. And how do you feel about that?
Well, now that, you know, I'm third generation here in this country, and it's only now that we are beginning to ask questions about our background. And, you know, I feel that definitely more has to be done about teaching our history as well in the schools. Yeah. Mm.
You would like to see more evidence of there being an Indian presence.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There's a need for that because we are over a million. How many are we? Yeah, over a million Indians in this country, but there was no history of us at all in the books. And if it is mentioned, it's just that we were indentured here to work in the fields, the sugarcane and the railways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's kind of bring this conversation.
It's very much a need for that history to be told.
Yeah. So I want to bring this conversation to a close. And so I'm going to ask you if there's anything you would like to say to young Indians in South Africa and by extension in the diaspora.
I think we need to integrate very much into the country we're living in, because that's important. And as much as we are Indian origin, and you know, as I always say, when I go to India, it makes my genes sing. But I'm very much South African, and I consider myself South African of Indian origin, although I would never forget my culture. I'm saddened that I don't speak the languages as much as I would like to, but I think it's important that we integrate into the countries that we are in. That's the only way we can become part of it. And the South African Indians have done that. I mean, when you think of the Indian Congress, and it was very much we were very much the part of the struggle for India, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much for sharing that and for sharing your life story and the story of Rajwantia. We're looking forward to it. So as I would have shared with you before, you're welcome. As I shared with you before, we will make all efforts to help you to uncover all that can be uncovered in India. And I want to thank you very much for staying.
Very much appreciated. My cousin Kalyani, who lives in Edinburgh, and my niece Sanusha is in Cape Town. The three of us are doing it, and that's where we are a bit stuck now. So we'd much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Okay. So thank you once again for being here, and thank you to Sudeshan for connecting us.
Thank you. Thank you, Bata.
So enjoy the rest of your night, and I hope you stay to the end of the program.
Okay. Thank you, Shalima. Right.
You're very welcome. So we have two speakers next, and at this point, I would like to bring in our chair, Shakira, to introduce the person that she will be interviewing, Mama Sukra.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, Mama Bastille, we are ready to interview you. Are you all right? Thank you for staying. Are you able to hear me? Yes? Okay. So we have Baste Sukram. She's 87 years old and she was married at the age of 15. She speaks English and some Hindi. She worked on the Orange Sugar Estate in Tacarigua in Trinidad, and she has 6 live grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. So, Mama Baste, we will be taking 20 minutes to share your wonderful life and your story. All right?
Okay.
Yeah.
What to say first about me,
Here,
They will ask the questions.
David. So thank you, David, for bringing her to join us.
You're welcome.
All right. So, Mama Basde, can you tell us the circumstances of your birth, like where you were born?
Well, I born in Basta Hall.
Basta Hall.
Yeah.
And that is where in central Trinidad.
Yeah. Couva.
Okay. And I understand your father came with his parents from India.
Yeah.
So he came on the boat. He came as an...
Yeah, he come with the boat with the mother and father and everybody.
Is there do you know any more information about that? You can tell us more about him?
Do you have you could tell them anything about your father?
Yeah, well, my father was all right, and he remained with my grandmother and my grandfather.
Uh-huh. So all of you stayed at Basta Hall?
Right, yes.
Okay. So do you remember anything he might have told you about being on the boat, coming from India?
Did he tell you anything about his experience on the boat when he was coming from India?
All what they tell me that they come while traveling by the boat, my grandmother had a baby.
Oh, okay. So he was born on the boat itself?
On the boat, yeah.
Okay. So your grandparents, what did you call them? Or what name did you call your grandparents?
Well, I was to call my grandfather Aja.
Uh-huh.
And I call my grandmother Aji.
Okay, so you did meet them. How old were you when you got married?
Oh, 15 years.
15 years. So
yeah.
When you were a child, your grandparents were still alive? Yeah?
When I get married, yeah. No, my grandparents had passed away.
Oh, they had passed away.
Yes. And 14 days after I get married, my father passed away.
All right, that's the connection. All right. So do you remember what language your grandparents would have spoken?
What language?
Hindu.
Hindi.
Hindi. I'm Hindi. I said Hindi.
So you can speak a little bit for us?
A little, yes.
A little? Okay, well, what do you remember? Just tell me.
Then you want something, Jaike lele huasi. Jaike huat her baby.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And when you cook, kap kaisan kai tupanai.
Oh, what does that mean?
What food you cook?
What kind of food you cook?
Right.
Oh. All right. Say it one more time for me.
Repeat what you just said about the food. What you cook.
In Hindi.
What in Hindi? Bhat, dal.
No. How we would say it in Hindi, what you cook.
Ka pakaile hogi.
Ka pakaile hogi. What you cook.
Right.
So, Annie, I'm coming in your kitchen, right? Okay. So here I'm gonna ask you, I see that you have the urni on, right? Did you always wear it?
Yes, I always have urni.
Even when you were a child, or was that only when you got married?
Well, while I outside, I remain, yeah, but if I'm going out anyway, prayers anyway, I haven't my urni.
From a child, did you wear urni or only when I got married?
No, well, since I got 15 years, I get married, I use an urni.
Okay. Right. So that seems to be a connection with the other. Yeah.
Yes. So. And then I know my mother, my Aji and them, they bring, they had jata to grind dal. They had seal and lol had to grind masala. They had dheki to pong rice. You know, too.
But thank you for reminding us, because when we were at Karen's house, where we had the roti cookout, we did see all of that on display. So not everybody would use it now, but I'm so glad you're reminding me of it, because we did have it at that display also. So thank you for reminding me. Another question. Tell us about your school days. Did you go to school?
No, darling, I never go to school.
How many brothers and sisters you have? Did any of them go to school?
We were 3 sisters and 6 brothers.
3 sisters, 6 brothers.
Yeah.
Any of you went to school?
Well, my balance is it's only I and my older sister never go to school, but the balance and I went to school.
Okay. So we said you worked at the Orange Grove Estate. So that was when you were small, or when you got married?
Since I'm married and I'm married the 5th of June, and the 2nd of January, I gone out to work in Orange Grove Estate.
And what kind of job did you do in Orange Grove?
I given water.
Water carrier.
Water carrier.
Okay. And when they say Orange Grove, they would have had what? The orchards?
Cane.
Sugar cane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sugar cane. So the workers who were cutting the cane and tending the fields.
All the time is only cane, land be working.
All the time working.
Right.
What
happened is, Shakira, after the water carrier type of work, she also started to do the cane cutting. With my father.
Wow. So with the cane cutting, so from water carrier to a cane cutter, and you also had to have, your family would have grown from then. So you did that with your husband.
Right, yeah.
And what was his name?
My husband's name?
Yeah.
Sukram.
And how old was he when you got married to him?
Maybe about 18.
Okay. 18. All right. So you guys, in the cane cutting, right? Can you tell us more about that? Can you, because that lifestyle, some may not be familiar with. Like what time did you all leave home to go to cut the cane, and what did that all entail?
Well, we leave all around 4:30 to reach in the field. At 6 o'clock, we start chopping down the cane.
Right. So everything was done in the morning period when it was, yeah. So especially for the morning period when it was cooler, up until what time did you all close off work?
What time you have to finish cutting?
Well, according to how much, if you want to make 2 tasks, it takes you about 1:30, 2 o'clock. If you do half 8, well, around 12 o'clock, you reach back home. Okay. But if you want more money, you do your 2 tasks.
Explain to us what you mean by 2 tasks.
explain what you mean by 2 tasks. There's a measure by rods.
Yeah, they measure by rod.
Okay.
You remember how long was your rod?
So according to the amount that I'm thinking, sometimes they give you 12 rods per task. Sometimes they according to how the cane is, you get, if it's flat, thick, you get less rod. And if it's the cane, the kind of thing, you get more rod.
Wow.
Sometimes they reach up to 15 rod for 1.5 tasks. So much 60 rod you have to cut to make 2 tasks. Eh?
Okay.
So.
Shakir, let me just pose this question to her.
Sure.
Mama, when you were working in the cane field, did you sing songs?
Well, when you're studying to do your work, you can't study song.
Okay. So were you singing songs at home sometimes with the children?
Yes, to sing any songs at home?
Well, yeah, singing my little bhajan and thing, you know, what religious bhajan and thing I do in my work.
Sing something for us.
Cooking and washing and...
They wanted to sing something for them. What is to sing long ago?
Oh, you see, for right now, all this bhajan gone through.
Okay, no problem.
How much is to get paid?
How much there was to get paid?
Yeah, so much is, what was the salary like?
Well, every fortnight, sometimes they was to pay by the week. Sometimes they pay by, then they start paying by fortnightly.
How much is to get?
And then when, well, you have to check it at, if you do 2 tasks, you get $2.50.
That is $2.50.
$2.50 for 2 tasks.
At that time?
At that time. You know, so. And then I suppose when I started to work, I started work at $1.08 a day. From 6 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the evening.
So what was, so you, from 6 in the morning?
Yeah.
4 in the evening. And what about your family life then?
Well, I had my sister home. So my sister was to take care of my children.
Okay. And how many children do you have?
3. 2 sons and 1 daughter.
So with that $1.08, what could you have bought with that $1.08?
Well, we have to try. If you don't try and call up on God, God will help you for that $1.08 to increase and help you to get everything you want. But you must have God in your mind and be honest to God.
There is your answer right there, because I was going to ask you a question. What was the secret? And I think you just gave me there the secret of your life.
So how you educated the children by cutting cane.
So can
you educated your children by cutting cane?
I educate my children by cutting cane. That is what I do. No matter I didn't go to school, but I try with my children. No, so.
And you did a beautiful job, because your 3 children, tell us about them. Where are they now? What do they do?
My children?
Yes. Well, you have to let them know where John and Bermuda, 2 of us.
Well, my daughter in Bermuda, right? And I have 2 of my son with me.
Retired.
So I with my two sons.
And you are
I
so
have grandchildren, and I love my grandchildren, my great-grand.
for working so hard and for doing all of that. And how do you feel now?
Well, now I am able to walk, move around, so I am sitting down and enjoying myself with my children.
And with that beautiful smile, that tells it all. You are enjoying. So there's a question here. Someone was asking the jata and the deki. I was used to grind and pound the rice. Would you have had that at your home? Would that everybody would have had that at their home?
The jata, you had that home in Basket Hall. Anybody else had, or everybody used to go to that house?
Well, everybody was in the same house, live, you know, and they try to help themselves.
So the community, everybody, the whole family would come and use it, or?
Yeah, well, I had my grandmother, my grandfather, my father, you know, so everybody tried to stick out and hold out with whatever they have.
So would you say that that family connection with the extended family for Indians, is that something that most families have now?
Well, yes, some of them trying, yes. Some of them not trying at all. But my children trying to be together with the family.
So that is wonderful. So thank you, dear. All right. So Mama Basti, I know you were waiting for a long while. So I'm going to wrap up now, and I want to ask you just one last question. What would you like to see improved in the Indian community now?
Well, all what I want to see that everybody unite and live in a loving, united way.
Thank you, Mama. And from your example and from your family example, you are doing just that. So thank you, Mama Basti. David, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for organizing this.
Not a problem. You're welcome.
Right, so I will pass you over to Shalima now.
Thank you so much, Mama. We really appreciate
welcome,
you.
you're welcome, darling, my sugar.
Thank you. And now I will just turn this over to Dr. Mahaber to continue. So Dr. Mahaber will introduce the next speaker, and he will conduct that particular interview. And I hope all of you all stay to hear this one.
Right. So thank you, Shalima, for a wonderful job as always, and Shakira as well. So I'm going to talk to Miss Shahid Mohammed from Freeport in Central Trinidad, and we probably need a whole program together because he's a talker and I'm a talker myself. So it's good that you have scheduled us for last so we could go until probably 5 o'clock when we should end. So welcome, Miss Shahid Papi. Tell us about your grandparents. Do you remember them? Did they come from India? Who came from India? Your grandparents or your great-grandparents? Tell us about that.
Well, my grandparents came from India. Both sides. Father side and my mother side. And my grandmother's name was Nasiban. And my grandfather's name was Nur Muhammad. But you want to laugh? The other local name was Man After God.
Okay. How did that name come about?
Well, he got that name because he used to be selling agricultural goods to the villagers and the market. So while going and he coming back, he used to take his little drinks and so. But when he take his little drinks, he used to kind of misbehave like. So this lady kind of fall in love with him. And one day she heard him saying, you know, all the different things and who friends, what they do and what they didn't do in the shop. So she said, man after God, man. You know, she used that word in herself. Man after God, man, when he was explaining how the fellas were getting on in the shop and so. And then other persons hear her and they give him that name. So he had that name, the local name in the whole village, in the police station, by the doctor. And he used to sell milk to the whole community. And this friend of his happened to be a boxer's mother, a boxer from Trinidad.
What's your name?
Mother. So this lady find it nice to give him a name, man after God. And all the children would call him man after God. And he always has fruits to distribute while he going to sell. So as time prolonged, you know, he had me come with him in Princeton. So my parents sent me there with him. And early in the morning, he never called me by name. He said, boy. He said, boy, let us go to get feed for the animals. And I would get up. He always had this cup of milk ready for me and for himself. We share and we going to cut the grass. But while doing that, do you know we had to thief that grass? Because everybody has animals. And he said he using the grass knife. So while I been with him, I know my father never used a grass knife to cut the grass. So I asked him, Nana, and the same name I used in our last meeting, you know, Parker 51. You remember that?
Yes.
Right.
What it is?
The Russian cutlass was Parker 51.
Okay, swiper.
Yeah.
I see.
So while he used his grass knife, I start to cut grass with the cutlass. So he put on the grass knife when I going fast. And he used to tie the bundle and load it on the cart. And one day, a fella by the name of Hanif Mohammed had the best grass right through in Princeton. But he has animal also. But we went to get this grass early in the morning. And I mean like 4:30, 5, 5:30, we don't cut the grass. But Mr. Hanif coming down to get the same grass we cut. And here my grandpa, he said, boy, jump up on the cart. I jump on the cart. And away we went, and Mr. Hanif behind and we in front. So He drive out until he reached Navet Road in Princeton. But when he reached the pit road, from there, he drive in a mancane wheel, so you won't see the wheel mark. So Mr. Hanef lost this tracker. And he went in the police station. Brought the police to Mr. Aftergod's house. I with it. Police came. You boy, you stole Mr. Hanif grass? I said, no, sir. I never leave the house. He gone and he looking on the cart, but my grandfather think first, throw all the grass for the animal and not on the cart. So what you holding me for? You know? And then the policeman come, he walk right in. He telling Mr. Hanif right there, Mr. Hanif watching his grass, animal eating, grandpa milking, and he had this boxer fella who always come to help him. And the boxer fella milking too and laughing. Okay. When they done milk, boxer fella helping clean the pen and so take a bottle of milk, and he used to go and exercise in the morning.
What did the policeman do?
The policeman told Mr. Hanif, you're making false report. So Mr. Hanif take that because he really see no grass on the cart. And he go on home. Well, some days prolonged, and then I had to go to school. And my aunt named Corisha would have to hold my hand and carry me along to Presbyterian school in Princeton. And so I started going to school in Princeton. I get into school, and there my teacher, you know, but before I reached to school, my uncle used to teach me home. So I learned the first primer, as we call it. I think you would know what the first primer is.
Yes, yeah.
And when I reached the class, the first thing the teacher had told me, Mr. Pinocchio. Okay. Well, I accepted it, but not knowing that fella had a bigger nose than mine.
Okay.
Bigger ears. And here my aunt. Corisha. Call him Big Nose Willie. She said, Mr. Big Nose Willie, don't address my little nephew as that. You know? And we had these jokes in class and so on. The name continued. I spent 1 year in Princeton same school.
Is that the school's, some incident with a Cowich episode?
No, that one happened in Freeport Presbyterian School.
Tell us about that.
Well, there was a headmaster. I could call the name or don't call no name.
Don't call his name.
Okay. So this headmaster, mine and goat. And he always tell us in the evening, you all will bring some bacano leaves for me. But the goat eat the bacano leaves. I had to get this back annual leave. I report to my father, I had to get back annual leave. My father would go and cut young back annual leave and bring it for me to carry it in school. By the time I reach in school, I have more hands on my back. And I said, no more back annual leave. And it was kind of swelling up where the bite. So in the vine that we're cutting now, we had the coach. Right. So I cut some vine mixed with the coach. And I looked for the ripe ones. But I didn't tote it. He wanted to bring bamboo to put for the yam. So you know the how we call it, the branch of the bamboo. I load the grass on the bamboo and I drag it from Freeport here to the school. Nice, Mr. Mohammed. Okay. We went on, and when he take up the grass to feed the goat, he started to scratch. Well, somehow he bathed himself and so, but I took out some ripe ones, put it on the paper, well wrap it up. And he put me on the second seat in front. He said, boy, you are a mischievous boy. All Muslims that behave bad in the school. So I listened carefully. All Muslims. I watched the next Muslim. I watched the next one. Some from Calcutta, some from by the junction, St. Mary's. And all are we looking at one another. We say we could do for him.
Jesus.
Right. But I had a friend named Mina Budram. She didn't like what he said. So she turned around and watched me. I said, Mina. And I just put the paper there and she watched it. And she in front us and front him. Okay. While he doing that and he writing on the board, which was near to her, so she blew. She blew. And all the dust get on this road and headmaster. Well, the whole class never see a headmaster dance. He went on this dance. Everybody in the back want to know what happened to him. Well, Mina was smarter than us. She take the very paper and now wrap it. And she was kind of biggish. She raised the desk a little bit and put it under the desk. Under the edge of the desk so the paper squeezed in. Do you know this man whole back and ears, face swollen? He never come to class for 1 week. And the assistant take over. And exactly when he comes, all Muslim in one line. See, one line in the desk from front to back, all Muslim. Like in a control. So we accepted that. And then in morning session now, we have to sing hymns.
Yes, Presbyterian school.
Yeah. Well, of course, my mother was the best singer in this very CM school. And her headmaster was Inspector Mohammed. But this Mr. Mohammed had to adopt the Christian religion before he could have got the position that he holds.
Yeah.
Okay. Teacher Dan would not allow us to sing in the prayers. He said, you all sit there. And he put us on a line and the Christian hymns are singing. So my mother taught us the whole of the Christian book in hymns. I don't know for what reason this teacher put me to take out talkers in the class. And I asked him, sir, could I sing a hymn? He said, you could sing it? I said, yes, sir. I started. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, early in the morning, our song will rest and sleep. Okay, I stopped. He said, that's not good. I said, well then, teach. Jesus calls us, or the tumult, awful lies will restless see. Day by day, each sweet voice song that saying, Christian, follow me. He loved them. And from then, he said, I would not say that Muslim would not follow the Christian religion. You know?
Yeah. So Papi, tell us about the relationship between, when you were growing up, between Hindus and Christians and Muslims, neighbors and that kind of thing.
The relationship?
Well, from Princeton, my father bring me back at Freeport. When I came to Freeport, my sister was attending CM school in Freeport, and I get in here. So in the Freeport school, we had mixed community. We had Negroes, we had, like, you still religious, you had Hindus, Christians, and we Muslims. But there was a reason that with some of the Hindus, not all, that there was a war between India and Pakistan.
Yeah. Independence, I think, 1947.
Yeah. So
the partition and all.
I was attending the Hindi school up near to my home. And you had about 4 of the Hindu children used to come to our maktab class. So when this war come out now, one of the teacher, he said, no Muslim must come back to the Hindi class. But my sister was very advanced. And she started singing Muslim hymns in the Hindi language. And that very teacher's sister named Yasuda. She didn't like what he said. She said, brother, Lazimun teaching us. And she's singing it so nice. He said, we don't mind that, but the community here will put me out. I can't teach. So, you know, it comes a community, the community that runs the Hindi school is telling them no. That well, we can't accept the Muslim. They have war in Pakistan and India. One of the teachers asked me, how would you feel not to come to class? Not to come to class. I said, well, I learned the alphabet. And so, and my friends, who is the Hindu community, some of them disagree and some of them agree that I come. But it might start a problem right there in the class. So I report home and my father said, before it have problem, don't go. You see? But the teacher had already tell us, well, look, we wouldn't accept you in the class. But we didn't tell him not to come to our class. But one of the best things that had happened in the village is that the Muslim community, when they buy the pot, and so we had 4, 2 for the Muslim community, 2 for the Hindu community. And we could not take any of them pot to cook beef. And the children who were coming knows that because we put the pot one side and they were one night, 2 pot up there and 2 pot down here. And they asked the question. And that is the very teacher who said, don't come to the school. So they went home and tell him. They have the pot one side and we just borrow that pot to cook. In a wedding taking place right by the very man's house, asked for the pot because the Hindu community only have 2 pots. And we have to make 4. And they cook all the things. And then they get to realize that we don't use them pot for our own use. And they adopted, after that, they adopted the same principle. And we community joined.
Very good.
Whatever happened in India, left that in India.
Quite so. So, Papi, tell us about your days. I understand you like movies. You like to go cinema. And you were so fond of cinema. You used to run away sometime and go, and you were so taken up with the movies that you imitated some of the songs and you could sing some of the songs. And I hope Shakira would, your daughter would prompt us and you would do a couple numbers for us because we just have about 5 minutes again.
Okay.
Sure. All right. Let me just share screen.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, why? Okay. All right. Because I wanted for him to tell us about his cinema days. Okay, go ahead.
No, Awaaz De Kaha Hai.
Awaaz De. Okay.
So he's going to sing Awaaz De Kaha Hai from the movie
Amar.
Right. Amar. Anmol Gadi.
Okay.
Anmol Gadi.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Starting.
You have to share sound, eh? Yeah.
We're not hearing him.
We're not hearing him. Robin? Oh, can we hear him also? Your sound is too loud to hear. Turn the sound down from the video. Turn the volume low. No, not here. Not here. Shakira, turn the volume low on the video that you're showing, so we could hear his voice. Because we're hearing the music okay, but we're not hearing anything from him at all.
Or Shakir, perhaps just allow him to see the words and let him sing. You just
Yeah,
take
yeah,
off the
yeah.
sound. Let him
Yeah.
sing, take off the sound, right?
Or put it very low.
You are muted now, Shakir. Unmute.
But while we tell us about your cinema days while we're setting that up. But Shakira, unmute.
And all the boys going. So some talking brave. They're very brave. I say, okay. I want to see how brave these boys are, but I have my own plan. When theater over, I leave them and I ride up in front.
That's about midnight, is it?
Yeah, about 1 o'clock.
Oh, in the morning. Okay.
I come up first. I open the maktab. And you know what the tabut is? That is what they bury the dead in.
Oh.
The Muslim people.
Yes, yes.
So I, in that, have a sheet. Man, I try my best. And I go under it and I take it up. I bring it and carry it near my house and I put it because it have a big pickup hatch by my house. I put it across the bridge and I put the white sheet over it. Okay. And I climb up the bank and I listen when the boys reaching, saying, what that in the road? They put the torchlight, they seen this thing across the road. What is that? They recognize is a taboo. One of the guy. So he tell any brother, like Mani and Rati, tell any brother, he say, Rati boy, if you ride up to it and close your eye, it go move. Well, I killed myself with laugh on the bank. Rati did the exactly. He ride it back and he bunks the tabut and he fall clear over in the water. Okay. Well, noise now. The boys start to make noise because 6 of them, 5, 6 of them. The villagers get up, my father get up, uncle get up. When they hear the noise, they come out. When they watch, my father sees tabut in the road. And he laughing. Who bring the tabut here? Watch me, I had to break my back now here. I go on and take out my shoes, pull my coverlet over and I snowing too hard. When he come, he open the door. He see me in the room. When he gone outside, I jump over the window this side. I gone back in the road. Side of the bank, I go in now. Yeah, them fellas gone. And Mani and Rati going home, but they had to pass our next bridge. That they call it the Jokan Bridge. You know them fellas ain't go home. They stay out by the shop, but we had a shop, they call it, at the time, Sagram Singh shop. They below the house making noise, Mr. Sagram get up and join the company, and the jokes went on. So this
Good,
is
good. Very good. So let's end with a song. Let's try it again, Shakira. Put the volume low on the video so we could hear his voice. It was optimum when you played it just now.
Perhaps don't play the music.
Well,
Just
let's try.
he
Let's
could
try
hear
this.
it.
Let's try it
Yeah,
first.
let him sing without it.
Without the music? Okay. So
No,
you
but let's try it first, the karaoke at very low volume.
Okay. Bismillah. I was eating.
very low volume.
Yeah.
So that,
Minuscule.
Let it come.
share the screen.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
दुनिया मेरी जवा है आबाद मेरे दिल में उम्मीद का जहां है दुनिया मेरी जवा है आवाज दे कहाँ है रात जा रही है जैसे चांदनी की बारात जा रही है रात जा रही है जैसे चांदनी की बारात जा रही है चलने को अब फलक से दारू का कारवां है चलने को अब फलक से दारू का कारवां है ऐसे में तू कहाँ है दुनिया मेरी जवा है आवाज दे कहाँ है
Excellent, excellent. So I think we are going to end here because it's about 5 o'clock. It's a pity. You may have to come back again, Papi, because we want to talk about your experience in cultivating hill rice and lagoon rice. And we understand that you were a tobacco farmer and you were involved in wrestling and stick fighting. And we want you to hear more about your knowledge about Bade Sagan Maharaj, the great leader in Trinidad. So I'm sure we would want to have you again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kumar.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time that you have taken. And we have a lot more to talk again. Okay, Shalima, over to you. Shakira, thank you.
So there you have it, our conversations with 4 very interesting, very lively elders today. And I want to say, we cannot thank them enough. We can't thank them for the legacies that they've left. We cannot thank them enough for all that they've shared with us today and all that we hope that they will share with us in the future. So they've taken their time, they've sacrificed to be here with us, some of them staying up until 10, 11 p.m. And we really appreciate the effort and that they made themselves available to us. So ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, this meeting is being recorded live. It will be uploaded later after editing on YouTube permanently for posterity. So all of the families who are here, you all will have access to the recordings, and everyone else who are here who are non-family members but family of the ICC, you can actually have access to the recordings. We hope today was a very enlightening experience, and we look forward to sharing with you all further. So Shakira, I want to say you can take over from here.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shalima. And remember that we are still looking for more Indian elders over 80 years old to interview live next month for part 4 of this series. And we are asking their children and grandchildren to help us in this oral history project. I want to thank all for taking the time to participate, and thanks especially to the elders. As I've said before, this public meeting is being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center and the Amina Ghafoor Institute for the Study of Indentureship and its Legacies, led by Professor David Dabidine. You can feel free to contact ICC also to publish your books and your reports. Remember that we are also asking you to kindly give us your suggestions as well as donations, and you can contact Dr. Kumar Mahabir for the details. Thank you to the advisory and planning team led by Dr. Kumar Mahabir. And thanks to our IT manager behind the scenes, Ravin. Thank you. So Ravin Ramsingh, who has been recording the program and will edit and upload it to our website and to YouTube permanently for posterity. Our topic next Sunday will be mixed race Dokla identity in the Indian diaspora. So please like, share, and follow our Facebook page. I am Shakira Mohammed of Trinidad and Tobago saying goodbye. May God bless you all. Dhanyavad.
Thank you all for staying so long, and it was wonderful. It was delightful. We can still talk a few minutes once Ravin stopped the recording.